When Dan Blocker, the loved star of Bonanza, died in 1972, everyone expected all the actors to cry together at his funeral. But one man wasn't there. Pernell Roberts, who worked with Blocker and was his friend for a long time, surprised everyone by not going to the funeral. People started talking about fights, secret problems, and sad memories that kept him away. Many years later, the real reason finally came out. And it's way more mixed up than anyone thought. When Dan Blocker, who everyone loved for playing Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza, died suddenly in 1972 when he was 43 years old from blood clots after surgery to fix his gallbladder. The shock went way beyond Hollywood. Blocker had been the heart of the show both on TV and when the cameras weren't rolling, known for being warm, funny, and staying humble and normal. His death was a terrible loss to fans, the actors he worked with, and everyone who worked in TV. But Pernell Roberts, who had played his TV brother Adam Cartwright and had worked closely with Blocker for years, didn't go to the funeral. This fact has made people curious, and guess what happened for many years? Several big reasons help explain why Roberts wasn't there. First and most important was his complicated feelings about Bonanza. Pernell had left the show in 1965 after 6 years because he was frustrated that his character was boring and the stories weren't deep enough. He often said bad things about the series, calling it junk TV. He felt that it didn't talk about important or meaningful topics. He complained that his character Adam, even though he was a grown man in his 30s, always had to ask his father Ben Cartwright, played by Lorne Greene, for permission to make choices. This feeling of not being happy with his creative work created a break between Roberts and the show, and also made him feel emotionally distant from the actors he had left behind. By the time Blocker died, Roberts had been away from the daily life of the Bonanza actors for almost 7 years, which probably made it harder to go to the funeral. Second, Roberts's private and quiet personality played a big role. He was known for being very private, staying away from showing his feelings in public, and avoiding attention, much like Blocker was in other ways. The crazy media attention that would come with the funeral of such a famous TV star would have been too much. For Roberts, going to a public ceremony with cameras, reporters, and fans might have felt rude or fake compared to how he dealt with sadness. Instead, he probably chose to be sad privately in a way that let him honor Blocker without public fuss bothering him. Roberts also had a complicated relationship with sadness and death. He had once called himself Pernell, the last one, Roberts, after living longer than many of his Bonanza co-stars, showing a thoughtful, even gloomy way of dealing with loss. This suggests that he kept his sadness inside and dealt with the heavy feelings of death in a personal, thoughtful way. His not being at the funeral was therefore not necessarily a sign that he didn't care or was being disrespectful, but rather showed his natural way of handling sadness privately and carefully. Even though he didn't go, Roberts clearly respected and liked Dan Blocker. In later years, he spoke nicely of Blocker, describing him as kind, generous, and really hard not to like. Roberts's choice not to show up at the funeral should not be understood as not caring. Instead, it shows his own personality, his way of being sad, and his desire to grieve in a personal and controlled way. Also, the differences in their careers and personalities help explain this choice. Roberts was known for speaking his mind and being critical, a man with strong beliefs who often challenged the usual ways of TV and the limits put on him as an actor. Blocker, on the other hand, was easygoing, humble, and loved his role as Hoss, with warmth and consistency. While the two respected each other at work and shared a deep connection through their job, their personal ways of dealing with life, work, and feelings were quite different. Roberts's not being there was probably influenced by both these work differences and personal temperament. Now let's learn about Dan Blocker's career. In 1957, Dan Blocker, who was still early in his acting career, got a memorable part in a Three Stooges short called Outer Space Jitters. Playing the role of the goon, He was billed under the name Don Blocker. This role, though short, gave him a taste of screen comedy and introduced him to the film industry's need for physical acting and timing, traits that would help him well in later TV work. During that same time, Blocker began making a name for himself in Western TV shows. He appeared twice on Gunsmoke, one of the most popular and long-lasting Western series of that time. His first was on August 24, 1956, in the episode Alarm at Pleasant Valley, Season 1, Episode 39, where he played a cavalry lieutenant. 2 years later, on October 18, 1958, he came back in the episode Thoroughbreds, again stepping into the world of tough frontier storytelling. In 1957, Blocker guest starred in the ABC Warner Brothers Western series Colt, 45, appearing as Will in the episode A Time to Die. Around the same time, he was cast in 2 separate episodes of David Dortor's NBC series The Restless Gun. In these parts, he took on different roles, one as a blacksmith and another as a determined cattleman who planned to use his hard-earned money to return to his family's land in his home state of Minnesota. These early parts let him show both toughness and humanity, qualities that became trademarks of his screen personality. The year 1957 was busy for Blocker. He played bartenders in both the syndicated Western-themed crime drama Sheriff of Cochise, starring John Bromfield, and in the film Gunfight Ridge. He also appeared in the Cheyenne episode Land Beyond the Law, portraying Pete, one of the outlaw's henchmen. He soon moved into other well-known TV westerns. In The Rifleman, he took on another guest role, further deepening his connection with frontier dramas. By 1958, his ability to play different characters was clear. He played a prison guard and later got a recurring role as Tiny Budinger in NBC's Cimarron City, which starred George Montgomery, John Smith, and Audrey Totter. His big build and friendly manner made him a natural fit for roles that balanced toughness with underlying warmth. Also in 1958, he guest-starred in The Senorita Makes a Choice, an episode of Walt Disney's Zorro series. That same year, he appeared in Underground Ambush on Sergeant Preston of the Yukon, playing Mule Conklin, and portrayed Sergeant Brick in The Dora Gray Story on NBC's Wagon Train. His work that year extended to the NBC Western Jefferson Drum, Enter, where in the Stagecoach episode, he brought another supporting character to life. In March 1958, he appeared in Have Gun Will Travel as Joe, a thief in the episode Gun Shy, further solidifying his presence in the TV Western circuit. Blocker's range wasn't limited to traditional cowboy roles. In the 1958 episode Rodeo of Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring David Jansen, he played bearded poker-playing rodeo performer Cloudy Sims. The episode's storyline revolved around the murder of Ed Murdoch, a fellow rodeo performer, portrayed by Lee Van Cleef just before his scheduled final performance at Madison Square Garden. In 1959, Blocker appeared as Del Pierce in Johnny Yuma, the first episode of the ABC Western series The Rebel, starring Nick Adams. This role, coming at the end of a whirlwind few years of steady TV work, positioned Blocker as a recognizable face in Western entertainment, a genre that would soon give him his most famous role. Dan Blocker's true breakthrough came in 1959 when he was cast as Eric Hoss Cartwright on the NBC TV series Bonanza. The role would define his career as he appeared in an amazing 415 episodes over 13 years, staying with the show until his death in 1972. Bonanza was one of the most beloved and longest-running Western series in TV history, and Hoss became one of its most lovable characters, a gentle giant whose size and strength were matched only by his warmth and sense of humor. Blocker approached the role with real heart. He later explained that he based Hoss's character on a guiding rule taken from a statement by Stephen Grellet, an 18th-19th century Quaker missionary. "We shall pass this way on earth but once. If there is any kindness we can show or good act, "We can do, let us do it now, for we will never pass this way again." This philosophy filled Hoss with sincerity, compassion, and a kind of moral steadiness that audiences found deeply appealing. While Bonanza was the cornerstone of his career, Blocker also branched into movies. In 1963, he co-starred with Frank Sinatra in the light-hearted comedy Come Blow Your Horn, playing against his TV persona in a big screen setting. His working relationship with Sinatra continued in 1968, when he took on the role of a menacing, tough guy in Lady in Cement, the sequel to the detective film Tony Rome. That same year, Blocker's career crossed paths with one of cinema's most iconic directors, Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick wanted him for the role of Major T.J. King Kong in Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb after Peter Sellers decided not to play the part in addition to his other multiple roles. However, according to co-writer Terry Southern, Blocker's agent rejected the script, reportedly without his client ever seeing it. The role eventually went to Slim Pickens, whose wild ride astride an atomic bomb remains one of film history's most memorable images. TV continued to provide Blocker with substantial roles outside of Bonanza. In 1968, he starred as John Killebrew in the NBC TV movie Something for a Lonely Man, as a blacksmith, who persuaded settlers to follow him to California and establish the town of Arcadia. Blocker played a character that combined leadership, determination, and an undercurrent of vulnerability. The film co-starred Susan Clark, John Denner, Warren Oates, and Don Stroud. In 1970, he headlined the comedic western, The Cockeyed Cowboys of Calico County, playing a shy, awkward man unlucky in love. His romantic counterpart was portrayed by Nanette Fabray, with a supporting cast that included Jim Backus, Jack Elam, Noah Beery Jr., and Mickey Rooney. The role allowed Blocker to display his comedic skills while still embodying the charm that made Hoss Cartwright so popular. Blocker also appeared in other TV programs during his Bonanza years, including NBC's The Flip Wilson Show, bringing his easygoing charisma to a comedy variety format. Director Robert Altman, who had directed episodes of Bonanza, formed a friendship with Blocker and later planned to cast him as the alcoholic novelist Roger Wade in his 1973 film The Long Goodbye. Tragically, Blocker died before filming began. The role went to Sterling Hayden, and Altman dedicated the film to Blocker's memory. Outside of acting, Blocker also showed a smart business sense. In 1963, he co-founded and got partial ownership of the Bonanza Steakhouse restaurant chain. In exchange for his investment and promotional work, Blocker, appearing in character as Hoss, served as the chain's commercial spokesman, making personal appearances at franchise locations. The restaurants proved successful, further enhancing Blocker's public profile beyond TV. By the time of his passing, Dan Blocker had not only created an unforgettable TV icon, but had also built a career that spanned comedy, drama, film, and business. His gentle philosophy and commanding presence ensured that Hoss Cartwright would remain one of the most beloved characters in American TV history. As for Pernell Roberts, in 1957, he took a major step toward establishing himself in Hollywood when he signed a contract with Columbia Pictures. His big screen debut came the following year in Desire Under the Elms, 1958, an adaptation of Eugene O'Neill's play. In the film, Roberts portrays one of the contentious sons of patriarch Ephraim Cabot, played by Burl Ives. It was a tense, emotionally charged drama that tested Roberts's range and gave him the chance to hold his own alongside veteran performers. The film earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Cinematography, bringing further prestige to his first major movie role. Roberts's early momentum continued that same year when he landed a supporting role in The Sheepmen, 1958, starring opposite Glenn Ford and Shirley MacLaine. This light-hearted Western comedy allowed him to display charm and versatility, proving he could adapt to different genres. TV also became a key platform for Roberts during this period. He appeared in several episodes of Shirley Temple's storybook, including adaptations of The Emperor's New Clothes, Rumpelstiltskin, The Sleeping Beauty, and Hiawatha. His stage background and classical training made him well-suited for these literary and fairy tale productions. He also performed in the live broadcast anthology series Matinee Theatre, where he returned to his Shakespearean roots in Much Ado About Nothing, and starred in The Heart's Desire. From there, Roberts moved into the Western TV circuit, making appearances in Trackdown, Buckskin, and multiple episodes of Zane Grey Theatre. In 1958, he took on the role of Captain Jacques Chavez in NBC's adventure series Northwest Passage. That same year, he guest-starred in Tombstone Territory in the episode Pick Up the Gun, appearing alongside Pat Conway. Another standout role came in Have Gun Will Travel, in which Roberts played Travis, the lead villain in the April 11, 1958 episode Hey Boys Revenge. In this morally complex part, he portrayed a ruthless boss exploiting Chinese immigrant laborers, bringing an edge of social commentary to the action-driven story. By 1959, Roberts was in high demand, guest-starring in a wide range of popular series. He appeared in General Electric Theater, Cimarron City, Sugarfoot, Lawman, One Step Beyond, Bronco, 77 Sunset Strip, The Detectives, and House Call. His ability to adapt to different roles, whether frontier outlaw, military, officer, or contemporary character, made him a valued guest actor. That same year, Roberts co-starred in the Western film Ride Lonesome, Itame, directed by Bud Boticher and starring veteran cowboy actor Randolph Scott. Though often labeled a B-movie, Ride Lonesome is considered one of the finest examples of the Scott-Boticher collaborations, known for their lean storytelling and strong moral undercurrents. Roberts played Sam Boone, an engaging outlaw whose uneasy alliance with Scott's granite-faced lawman Ben Brigade forms the film's central tension. Will they ultimately work together or face off in a deadly showdown? His performance was further elevated by his scenes with James Coburn, making his film debut as Boone's quiet sidekick Wit. The chemistry between the three men gave the movie an understated depth that helped cement its status as a Western classic. While Roberts might have felt the shadow of typecasting due to his increasing number of Western roles, they provided him with some of his finest work. And in 1959, the trajectory of his career would change permanently when he was cast as Adam Cartwright in the NBC series Bonanza. The role would make him a household name, placing him alongside Lorne Greene, Dan Blocker, and Michael Landon as part of one of TV's most iconic families. Pernell Roberts became widely known for his role as Adam Cartwright, the urbane and thoughtful eldest son of Ben Cartwright on NBC's long-running Western series Bonanza. Unlike his brothers, played by Dan Blocker, Hoss, and Michael Landon, Little Joe, Adam was written as a university-educated architectural engineer, a man of sophistication and intellect. This distinction gave Roberts the opportunity to portray a character with a more refined demeanor, often acting as the voice of reason among the Cartwright sons. However, Roberts, who had largely come from the stage and was accustomed to a rigorous diet of classical theater and the freedom to move between roles, found the transition to a long-term TV series difficult. Playing the same character week after week without costume changes felt constraining to him. Despite the enormous success and visibility that Bonanza brought, he began to grow restless and dissatisfied. By the mid-1960s, Roberts was openly critical of the series. He objected to what he saw as its simplistic plots, its lack of diversity in casting, and its adolescent portrayal of the relationship between the widowed father and his adult sons. In interviews, he questioned the logic of three grown men continually seeking their father's permission for every decision. His frustration extended to the scripts, which he felt were not as carefully written or character-driven as promised when he signed on. In a 1964 statement to the Associated Press, Roberts lamented that the show had not lived up to its original vision of carefully defined characters and well-crafted storylines. He reportedly called the series junk television and accused NBC of perpetuating banality and contributing to the dehumanization of the industry. Roberts also described himself as dissatisfied with his own work, remarking, "I guess I'll never be satisfied with my own work." He disliked the mass-produced assembly line nature of TV production and yearned for material with greater social relevance and adult themes. On The Mike Douglas Show in 1966, he expressed his wish for Bonanza to be a little more grown up. By 1965, tensions between Roberts and the show's producers had escalated. He disliked the confining nature of his role, the refusal to allow him to take on outside acting projects while under contract, and what he saw as wasted potential for his character. In one interview, he bluntly stated, "I haven't grown at all since the series began. I have an impotent role. Wherever I turn, there's the father image." Ultimately, Roberts chose not to extend his 6-year contract, defying industry advice to remain on one of TV's top-rated shows. His final filmed episode was Dead and Gone, which aired on April 4, 1965, although 2 episodes he had completed earlier aired afterward. A Good Night's Rest, April 11, 1965, and To Own the World, April 18, 1965. The series explained Adam's absence by saying he had moved away, later suggesting he might be at sea, living in Europe, or running the family business on the East Coast. Bonanza producer David Dortor described Roberts as rebellious, outspoken, and aloof, yet also acknowledged that he could make any scene he was in better. In hindsight, Dortor regretted not working harder to keep him on the series, suggesting that Adam could have married and returned as a semi-regular character. "I must confess," Dortor admitted, "I was too hard on him. I knew he was good, but I didn't realize he was that good. None better." Years later, when NBC aired 2 Bonanza TV movies in the early 1990s, the storyline established that Adam Cartwright had moved to Australia, where he had equaled his father's success, this time dominating the engineering and construction business. Though his time on Bonanza lasted only 6 seasons, Pernell Roberts left an enduring mark on the series. His portrayal of Adam Cartwright provided a balance of intellect, integrity, and sophistication to the fictional Ponderosa, and his insistence on higher standards reflected both his personal values and his commitment to the craft of acting. What do you think about Pernell Roberts and Dan Blocker's career and relationship? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.